welcome back everybody to the one and the only Smooth Thrills Radio Hour, Series 2, Episode... what are we on now? 6, Episode 6. I am your host, Jason Rutledge. So, in this episode, we're discussing a movie. It's about a guy trying to track down another guy who just wants a relationship, but goes about it in all the wrong ways. I am, of course, talking about Manhunter, the first entry into what would later become the Hannibal Cinematic Universe. Start of a franchise, if you will. So Nathan and Katie are back for this one. So, I guess it's time to just get on with the show, really. But first, Mr. Tom Noonan has a very special message for all of you listeners out there.
Before me, you are a slug in the sun. You are privy to a great becoming, and you recognize nothing. You are an ant in the afterbirth. It is your nature to do one thing correctly. Tremble. But fear is not what you owe me. No, Lowndes. You and the others. You owe me all.
No, I didn't care for that one at all.
I
couldn't pin down what really bugged me about it for a long time.
Well, I don't like the UFO stuff because, it's weird because the supernatural stuff is acceptable.
Yeah.
But
showing
it's
it.
aliens.
Yeah, I think he showed too much in it. Mm-hmm.
Well,
had he just been like, oh, there's aliens, but then never showed anything, it wouldn't have been as bad.
True.
No, what bothered me the most about it was the only Indiana Jones movie where Jones himself doesn't matter at all. The events of the movie would have played out exactly as they had if he had not been involved in the movie whatsoever. He made no difference. All he did was run around, get captured, run away again, get captured again.
And it's also like a greatest hits compilation, like a lot of fourth films are, where they're taking the best elements of the previous three, and then you bring back Karen Allen.
Yeah,
he never had the same love interest in these movies before.
No,
so you're going to that nostalgia. Same thing with the Star Wars movies, you know. But yeah, it doesn't need to be. So they keep talking about a fifth one. No, we're good. Let's not.
Why can't we have new things?
Yeah,
that'll
never happen, I'm sure now. But
no. I wouldn't think so either.
No.
All right. Well, as long as we're talking about franchises, we might as well talk about this one.
Seems
Here
appropriate.
on the Smooth Thrills Radio Hour Season 2, we are talking about Manhunter.
Which at the time was not a franchise.
Mm-mm.
No, it wasn't. I don't know if they planned it to be either.
No, I don't think so.
Because everybody remembers Silence of the Lambs. Not as many people remember Manhunter, even though they should.
No. In fact, a lot of people actually that had seen Manhunter at the time didn't realize there was a connection between that and Silence of the Lambs.
Ah. Well, I'm not as familiar with the series of books. Was there...
None of them are called that.
Right. So Red Dragon is what this movie's based on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Was Silence of the Lambs as a book out already at the time that this was made?
I think so.
Or did that come later? I don't know.
At the time of 86?
I have no idea.
The novel was released in 81.
Silence of the Lambs?
Oh, no, 88, sorry.
Okay.
And then Red Dragon was 81. Wait, yes.
Okay.
Right. This was an August release. The big summer movie, the big talk summer movie was not Manhunter. It wasn't even really the other movies that were around at the same time, which was The Fly and Aliens, yes. The Fly, not so much. But the big talk of that summer was She's Gotta Have It.
Duck. Oh.
Because She's Gotta Have It opened in one theater, made $28,000, went on to make $7 million, which is only $1 million less than Manhunter got off a budget of 15.
Wow.
So that was your breakout hit. Manhunter, not so much. Maybe it was too stylish, which it is. It is very stylish.
Mm-hmm.
It is very Miami Vice, which makes sense because it's Michael Mann. But yeah, everything in this movie that could be painted in pastels was painted in pastels.
Right.
Anytime I see that in completely white bedroom with the white sheets and white carpet, it just makes me have a nervous breakdown.
Well, even the scenes on the beach, I mean, it's just that's very, it's a literal component of the film.
It was not, say, your Michael Bay type outdoor shot where everything is like blood red skies.
Thankfully not.
Yeah. With massive camera filtering going on. It sounded odd. It had that sort of Chariots of Fire, Evangelist type synthy soundtrack. I've never known really thought of Michael Mann as a particularly good judge of music for his own movies, especially early on.
I disagree. I mean, come on. Thief, his first film, Tangerine Dream. That's an amazing score.
Everybody was using Tangerine Dream, though.
Yeah, but that also, there's that Friedkin connection that this has here. Not the Friedkin French connection.
No.
But he used them, wasn't Sorcerer the first score that they ever did?
I don't know.
I believe so, and they insisted on not watching the film. They just scored it on their own and gave him the music.
Because Tangerine Dream, I know, did Risky Business.
They did, and they did several films. Legend was one of them. The alternate score, the release score, I should say.
Okay.
And Wavelength, which is a great score.
I don't know if I've seen Wavelength.
Robert Carradine, Keenan Wynn, Aliens.
You're not narrowing it down that much. Okay.
Of that year.
of that year. Okay. That was the movie they did together with Aliens that year. You're thinking of the previous year when they did that other movie with the aliens.
Yeah, Keenan Wynn he was doing Laser Blast a few years prior. It's a little bit different alien movie.
So yeah, August 15th, 1986, Manhunter comes out. William Peterson, who is one of my favorite actors from To Live and Die in L.A.,
which is an amazing
fantastic
film.
movie. If anyone hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Kim Grease, who's in Chud in Brazil.
Yeah. There you go,
before
Katie.
This very early work with Joan Allen.
Yes.
I thought Brian Cox people drag on him for not doing a good Hannibal Lecter, but that's only in hindsight now, based on what
his interpretation of it
Hopkins.
is great.
And it's perfect
more brutish.
if you've read the books.
Yeah, it's much more brutish.
It's very spot on.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially in that book.
You get more of a feeling that this guy's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Would you like to give me your private home phone number?
No.
You know, that whole, I mean, he's creepy as shit, but he doesn't, it's not like he's doing it effortlessly.
He's not hamming it up.
I like that he's not super abrasive about it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that whole phone call thing, that whole scene where he's like, I don't have the use of my arms.
Oh, yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's like they just give him something to run with and he takes it.
He's already 5 steps ahead of everyone else at that point. It's fantastic. It's also a hallmark of Mann's writing I really liked in this is they never tell you what Hannibal Lecter did. They never go into those details.
They don't,
he did something really bad.
Right.
But they don't have to tell you what it is. It's not important to this story.
Well, it's important to know the relationship that he has with Will Graham is one of like horror. That's all we know.
That's all you have to know.
Which, by the way, I love the exposition that William Peterson's Will Graham gives to his son in the supermarket. I absolutely love that scene.
The supermarket where they change places in the aisle without even moving.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Like, what kind of coffee do you like? No, when they're on the cereal aisle,
standing in front of some cereal, and then all of a sudden it's coffee. It's amazing.
Well, he likes Folgers, you know.
But you agree with me though. I mean, if it's not about Will Graham, it's not in the movie.
Well, that's what Red Dragon is,
it's
and I like that both
him.
Right, but that's how the story is, and I like that both depictions with Manhunter and then later on Red Dragon that they stayed to that storyline.
Well, Red Dragon was pretty much a relatively unimaginative carbon copy of this movie. I mean, they took entire scenes and basically did it shot for shot.
Well, I mean, that's because it took it from the source material. It was a book before it was anything else.
I don't know how long he'd been developing this for a good while. Like she said, it was published in 1981.
I'm talking about Red Dragon here. The movie Red Dragon.
But I'm saying that's because there's no way around it, I guess, because Mann did such an excellent job at it.
He did an amazing adaptation.
But it's Brett Ratner who managed to wipe the peanut butter off his face long enough to be on set, I guess, who's trying to be Jonathan Demme and trying to be Michael Mann at the same time. And he's not up to that task.
I've never seen that movie. I will not watch that movie.
No, I don't.
I refuse to see it. Basically, one, I'm not interested in seeing another version of I know we had to do it to put Anthony Hopkins in the role, but it's unnecessary for one. Two, can't stand Brett Ratner.
Well, it's a cash-in. I mean, it was De Laurentiis Studios wanted to hang on to the rights, and they wanted to get a little more milk out of the cow.
Because Hannibal was a hit a couple years prior. Yeah,
so I can't think of any other reason why they would have done it.
I like it, but I also like Ray Fiennes in it. I think he is an amazing Dollarhide. Mm-hmm.
Tom Noonan's a good Dollarhide.
Oh,
Tom Noonan is
definitely.
a scary
Yeah.
as hell
Yes,
Dollarhide.
yes.
I like that all 3 depictions of Francis Dollarhide are amazing in their own way.
Very understated. Everything about this movie is pretty understated. Incidentally, did you notice that Dollarhide has the only set that is not in pastels?
His fucking apartment is amazing.
Has
by the
that one
way.
TV that's just tuned to static all the time, and
I don't know if that's in the book realistically, like a depiction of his apartment, but
No,
it is
no.
not.
yeah.
I mean, it's not what you would think, which is great because yeah.
Well, they keep
it's-
going back to that image on the wall of the single Viking probe sitting on the surface of
Yeah.
Mars all by itself,
which he
is
rips
kind of
through later
interesting.
on,
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about the Red Dragon, the remake, or it's not even a remake really, it's just another interpretation of the novel. But Brett Ratner did an interview right at the time of the release, and he talked shit about Michael Mann. I'll never forget this.
Ooh.
And Ridley Scott, who had just done Hannibal.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
you got
you
no place.
motherfucker. You made Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2, and you're going to talk about 2 titans of cinema? I'm not going to watch your movie, period. It like made me violently opposed to it. So
He can be a bit off-putting
and now
in many ways.
in 2020, we've heard a lot more about the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, he even
doesn't
used
surprise me.
he even used the same cinematographer, Dante Spignati,
Oh, okay.
for Red Dragon as he worked on Manhunter as well, as well as Heat, L.A. Confidential, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Believe it or not. So
Wow,
yeah, he was
he's
definitely
amazing.
trying to put himself up there with someone else, and just didn't have the chops to do
Let me
it.
bolster this up with enough talent surrounding me. Yeah, that makes sense.
Not to say that Manhunter doesn't have a wealth of talent here.
No.
Dennis Farina,
Yeah.
William Peterson, Tom Noonan, Joan Allen is great in this. Chris Elliott shows up. Was anybody expecting Chris Elliott
Yeah.
to show up in this movie?
Yeah.
Because he had already been working on Letterman for like a year, I think.
That's pretty
by
much
now.
all he'd been on at that point, right? He hadn't done movies, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. He hadn't done Cabin Boy yet.
Certainly not.
But I didn't even notice the first few times I saw this. Then I looked at it again just recently for the show.
He's
I was
just
like,
there.
"Where's
That's
Chris Elliott
what's
in
what's
here?"
great about it is he's not. There's no. It's like that's what I love about Michael Mann is he just casts to whatever he feels. He doesn't particularly care what your I guess your expectations are of the actor. And I mean that also goes in turn with William Peterson is superb in this. But who knew who he was? He believed in him enough to say he's going to be the guy. It works. It's perfect. And it's a perfect companion piece, I think, as a double feature with To Live and Die in LA.
Sure, certainly. Speaking to that, we have a clip here of the scene where all the cops are getting together to spread out and try to catch the Tooth Fairy, and we get this one bit of exposition between Graham and the lead detective in charge.
I know a burglar's gonna fence what he stole because his motive is cash money. I know his motive, so I go to work on fences. This guy, we don't even have motive. None of us have shit, and we know it.
It's in his dreams.
His motive?
Yeah. His act fuels his fantasy.
Which is?
I don't know.
Commissioner was saying that you're the one who got Garrett Jacob Hobbs, and then Dr. Lector 3 years ago.
Lecter killed 9 people, didn't he?
9 that we know of. 2 didn't die.
What happened to them?
One's on a respirator at a hospital in Baltimore. The other's in a private mental hospital in Denver.
What the psychologists say was wrong with Lecter?
Psychologists call him a psychopath. They don't know what else to call him.
I understand he cut you pretty good.
What about the dog?
It's at the vets. The kids brought it in with a puncture wound in the abdomen.
Jacoby's in Birmingham had a cat, didn't he?
That's right. We found a litter box downstairs, but we didn't find a cat.
Why don't you get Birmingham PD a methane probe out of Washington? Have them cover the backyard. Maybe the cat's dead and the kid's buried in.
Any other movie, somebody would have started crying or there would have been someone screaming, but this is a Michael Mann movie, so you have this complete emotional detachment that pretty much all his protagonists have. I'm thinking in particular of Spartan, the Val Kilmer movie. We know nothing about this guy because it's not important to the story. the president's daughter has gone missing, but we don't know why. It doesn't matter. We're detached from all of that. The story is about this quest. Same here with Manhunter. We don't have to go into gory details or big emotional scenes, because that's not what the movie's about.
There also is
following me?
like
See
a
what I'm saying?
static professionalism to
Yeah.
it.
Stoicism, I think you.
That would be a better term, yes. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen any other Michael Mann film.
Well, this is a good launching point, though, for sure.
I mean, if you like it.
Ooh. Okay.
I think it has great performances in it, but overall, I wasn't overly jazzed about this movie, especially having heard so much about it.
What was it? The sort of emotionless void that this movie
not at
works
all.
in? That
because I think that's not uncommon with the types of movies I watch. I think it is very stylized to the time it came out, almost to its detriment now. And I'm big on watching older films now and still being able to maintain that, oh, this is when it came out. But I think I just almost to it being cheesy in some way with the music and everything. And I know I'm probably like saying blasphemous things to many people.
No.
Well, that's what I would think most people would come to it now with that perspective.
Well, I think even then it got criticisms for maybe being too stylish for its
Too
own
artistic,
good.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Too hard to connect to.
The tiger sequence, which I think
what was up with the tiger sequence?
I think it's
the
beautiful.
tiger sequence, yeah, and it's a big point in the book as well. Like, I think he did an amazing job adapting the source material. Like, I have no issue with any of that. I think the acting is great. It's just some of the style, and definitely the music really grinds on you after a while in this movie.
Well, I think a lot of the love for it, too, is hot on the heels of Miami Vice. If you were into that kind of vibe from that era, it kind of makes sense. If you were a fan of some of his other films, you would definitely this kind of comes with the territory.
Well, what had he done? He did, was The Keep prior to this?
Thief is actually, I just added to my watch list. I really want to see Thief.
I hope you love it because it's a definite favorite of mine.
It's kind of a long movie.
What?
Thief, I think was...
That doesn't bother me.
About 2 hours, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why did
2
I think
hours
it was
and 3
2.5?
minutes.
Huh.
Oh yeah, I've not seen. I'm looking at his IMDb right now. I have not seen anything he's done.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to be like it helps to be a fan of some of his other works, maybe, if you retrospectively went to this.
I can definitely see that, especially when you said Miami Vice, like coming off the back of that. If you have that connection there, then it probably follows suit.
Yeah, and you're definitely right. It's very much of the 80s, of that particular section of the 80s.
And I love the 80s. Like, I was expecting to just be all about this movie, but it did not resonate for me.
It is very specifically looks like 1986. It sounds like 1986.
So does he didn't direct it, but he produced Band of the Hand. Oh. And that has a lot of that same aesthetic going on. And Stephen Lang's in both. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Band of the Hand.
Oh, you might have. You may just not remember it, but that was one that was always on cable back in the day. But it's pretty good. It's interesting. Got an excellent cast going for it. But,
how do you think Dollarhide knows the guy with the tiger?
I just think
how did that happen?
I know the answer to that. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
The photography place that he works for, he takes photos of animals at the zoo and everything.
And that's what he talks to Joan Allen about, too.
Mm-hmm. The conversation is that he actually wants it for his murders, but he's putting it under the guise of needing it to film the zoo animals in the evening.
Yeah, activities of nocturnal animals, as he puts it. Yes. I always thought that would actually be a great title for this movie, because Manhunter is not an exceptionally great title at all. It's not very enthralling.
No. Well, they didn't want to call it Red Dragon because it sounded too Japanese.
That was the working title, evidently. It was, but...
I mean, that is the title of the book as well, so it would make sense to go off of that. But Manhunter does not feel like an appropriate title for this movie at all.
Perhaps they were trying to piggyback off the popularity of Hall & Oates' Maneater. No? You don't think so?
It's possible.
Just saying.
But he will chew you up.
Yeah. You see?
A little tooth fairy action there for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, the other thing too is that you're right, because it might confuse audiences, because you had Year of the Dragon, Michael Cimino's film the year before.
Oh.
You had Big Trouble in Little China that same year as Manhunter. So if you put Red Dragon out there, not that people knew what Manhunter was necessarily either, but it might have diverted whatever audience it might, I don't know, would typically associate with it. But the other thing too is the distribution on this. How do you distribute this movie successfully now? You don't know.
I don't know
the Thomas Harris legacy as you do now.
Say we're coming in cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sell.
I don't know how you market this.
It's not a horror film.
No.
It's not an action film.
No.
It's a drama for the most part, I would think.
Yeah.
But it's not, and if you're a fan of Miami Vice, it's not that.
Definitely
at
not.
all. It has some of the same like look to it and sounds, but yeah.
It's a remarkably bloodless movie for the kind of movie it is too.
Yeah.
You would expect something like this to be a little more graphic than it is. Not to say that there aren't moments, but certainly.
But they're usually in that end sequence.
Yeah.
That's about it.
When
he tears away from any real like gruesomeness, like deliberately. That was a choice.
I did think at the end when Dollarhide dies and has the red wings of blood flowing out from under him was a nice touch.
Yeah.
It kind of took me out of the movie for a little brief second. Peterson goes charging through the window and they're blasting In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
But Iron Butterfly, man.
It's a good use of the song. It's just in that moment.
That's why I love Michael Mann. He has these ultimate like showdowns at the end.
Yeah. Where
the movie ultimately pays off and it's got this great music to it and you're just invested in that moment. You may not have been, but I was.
What? It's a great moment. It's just the whole slow motion jump through the window thing. Just where did that come from?
I love the jump cuttiness of that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Is it's like you're like, what am I? Why is it cut like this? And it's it stands out. I think
sort of like the flaming wheelchair bit. Not that we know much about Dollarhide really, but did that seem to fit into his overall aesthetic? Or was it a good chance to just set a wheelchair on fire for a moment on camera?
Well, that's in the book, right? Isn't it, Katie?
Is it?
Yeah.
It's in the book, it's in Red Dragon, and it's also in Hannibal.
It's in the Hannibal
series.
Yeah. Although that's a fake out in the series.
It is.
Well, the series takes a lot of dramatic liberties with the characters.
It does, but with it just going back on Netflix and all, I know a lot of people who are watching it for the first time.
But I mean, you almost can't compare them because you're going to expect things and then it doesn't go that
definitely.
way sometimes. Yeah.
And the one thing that I find really interesting is over all of the adaptations, they all pull the same dialogue or like for instance, the wheelchair thing and things like that. Yeah. It seems to be the similar things that they grab from it.
Do you think that's an accident or is it just because
it's the source material's too great? Probably. I mean, why would you want to ruin that? You'd want to kind of take a credit. It's kind of like doing a stage play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Material's excellent. It's just you're giving another interpretation of it.
And honestly, this is the one, Red Dragon is the one we have seen the most across all of the adaptations.
Yeah. We now have 3.
There's 3?
Mm-hmm.
The 3rd season of Hannibal is Red Dragon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't seen any of Hannibal. I haven't seen any of the show.
So what
Most
I loved
people
about
hate
Hannibal...
season 3.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
Well, because we've already seen it in 2 other movies.
Well, no,
they really do beat a dead horse with it. Like, it is very stretched out and just slow.
It becomes, the first 2 seasons are pretty damn great. I mean, I love the idea because it's that window of the possibility prior to Red Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
We can play around with this universe. What happens to Will Graham? So you do get their interpretation of what the answers are.
Okay.
The relationship between Hannibal and the show's called Hannibal because it really is about Hannibal. He's almost the central force in it. But it's prior to him getting caught. So, but then it starts getting into that, and I'm not giving anything away, but we do end up with Red Dragon. So I just kind of wish they kind of stuck in that imaginary realm a bit more.
So in a way, Manhunter did start a movie franchise accidentally almost.
Yeah.
I suppose. Even though that wasn't the intention. I don't know if it was the intention or
not.
I don't think it was.
Nobody knew it would be.
Was it successful at the time? Or did it just kind of no?
No, it did not.
Because I was going to say that could have been the driving force for... I'm not saying that is why Silence of the Lambs would have been done, but they could have been like, oh, this brought attention to this book series, and maybe more should be done with it. But if it wasn't successful, then chances are it did.
It only got about half its money back at theaters and really didn't get much play on cable until after Silence of the Lambs had already come out in theaters.
Well, there's like a 5-year in between Silence and this, and no one that went into Silence of the Lambs, I certainly didn't. I didn't even associate it with, I'd seen Manhunter before that, but I didn't associate the two.
Did you know they were from the same source material?
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you meant you didn't associate them as a series. Okay,
and it certainly wasn't. It wasn't thought of as a sequel in any kind of way. No way.
No, I don't think so.
So I think most audiences for Silence were fresh audiences, and rather than Iron Butterfly, they got the Moth. What? Mic drop. No.
Damn.
Anyways. But no, the distribution on Manhunter was not great because of Dino De Laurentiis' company, De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. That was their last year, pretty much, going in 87. But you look at that year, they did Trick or Treat, which I love. Okay. King Kong Lives was a massive failure as well.
No.
Yeah, I believe it.
The hell you say?
So I think he got a little too ambitious with that actual company, and Maximum Overdrive was the same year. I think that did okay. It did better on video, certainly, than it did theatrically.
Yeah. That was a hate watch for a lot of people. Though.
Really? I gotta love it. It's fun.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It irritates the hell out of me.
Come on. Who made who, man?
What else you got?
It's fun. It's fun. But yeah, so it was this movie coming in the midst of all that other stuff. He hadn't had great success that year, and this was not one you could really market particularly. I mean, they certainly didn't sell it.
It is an odd one.
Yeah. And they didn't really sell it as Michael Mann, the man who gave you Vegas and Miami Vice. They didn't sell it from that aspect either.
Would that have pushed it more, do you think? Like, was he a big enough name at that time?
He was in television. Like Thief did well, but it wasn't like a huge success. The Keep was not a success.
No.
So he wasn't, that was in 83. So
he was responsible. He produced Miami Vice, and there were 2 other series, I think. Was he involved in Riptide at all?
No.
Why would I think Riptide?
Well, it was the same time. I mean,
I guess.
I
think there were 2 other ones, I think. Can't think of what they are.
Well, he did, there was Wise Guy. No, he did, Crime Story.
Crime Story.
Dennis
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
I believe I blanked.
Because he was also one of those that tended to go back to his same
repertoire, yeah.
His repertoire actor, yeah.
Yeah, and William Peterson's in Thief. And is Farina
That's
in
right.
That?
I don't think Farina is.
I think he has a bit part in it. I'm pretty sure.
He's always played a cop. FBI
well, he was a
he's
cop,
in it.
so yeah.
That figures.
I like the fact... Oh, never mind. I'll bring that up in a second.
Go for it.
The guy who plays Lieutenant Fisk in Manhunter goes on to be Barney in Silence of the Lambs.
And Hannibal. Yeah. Frankie
and Red Dragon.
Faison, yeah.
Because that character is the only one to be in all... Well, not that he was Barney in Manhunter.
Right,
but
he's a different character, but that's like
he's the only actor to go across all of them. Was it, though?
Well, maybe not on his part, because maybe, he actually auditioned because he was a fan of Thomas Harris. But that
would be interesting to try to figure out.
I don't think Jonathan Demme or any of them probably cast him deliberately in Silence of the Lambs based off of his involvement in Manhunter. And his scenes in Manhunter, he's a very minuscule little role in that, comparatively. But it's a cool little footnote, yeah.
They couldn't bring Chris Elliott back for Red Dragon, or? Well,
he was too busy developing other great projects. Like he was too busy getting a life.
That's right. God, I've forgotten about Get a Life.
Don't forget about it.
That was on Fox, wasn't it?
Yep.
I think
Sundays. Yeah.
2 or 3 years or something. It seemed to go on forever.
Watch it.
Like, how could they possibly still be making this show?
I'll never forget the Jackie Earle Haley episode. The birthday party. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about Brian Cox's performance as Hannibal Lecter, which is restrained compared to Hopkins, I think.
Yeah, but he's also not the central focus. So. Like you're going to want him to kind of shine more so in Silence of the Lambs because of his character has a bigger arc in that, obviously.
Had it been possible, and the time was totally different, who would have made a great Hannibal Lecter? Peter Lorre.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been great. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, but I don't think Thomas Harris had written. I'm just kidding.
No, still in early drafts, very early drafts.
Oh, also I don't know. I don't remember if this is the case in the book Red Dragon, but Lecter's name's spelled differently in Manhunter.
It is.
Lektor.
I don't know if that was an accident
invention of the movie.
I noticed it like immediately when I saw it written down. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I paused the film and then like looked it up and I was like, why?
And do you know anybody with the, well, first of all, I don't know anybody with the name Lecter, but that wouldn't be my go-to spelling of it at all.
I wonder if it's one of those weird things where it's like when originally coming over to America, it was spelled that way, and then eventually it changed over the years or something.
Could be. It was also the name of the decoding device in For Russia with Love. It's the Lecter.
Which way was it spelled?
I don't know how that was spelled though.
Wow, look at that, dude. That's a good one.
That was the MacGuffin in that movie. Yeah, which I also don't know how to spell, which is MacGuffin.
You don't know how to spell MacGuffin?
I can make a guess.
That's an easy one to spell.
Yeah, it's like McMuffin, but with a G in there.
Great, now I want a McMuffin.
Or do you want one that's kind of like a McMuffin, which is ultimately
we'll call
a
it
MacGuffin?
A McGuffin.
Hannibal McMuffin.
Yeah.
So I've pulled a clip here of the final phone conversation between Hannibal Lecter and Graham.
Which is the original title of the song, The Final Countdown, by the way. Go ahead. They shortened it. Europe was like, that's too long of a title.
Oh, boy. Deep breath, everybody. Okay.
Back on track.
This is our moment when Lecter reveals the motivations to Mr. Graham, or at least what he thinks they are.
I wanted to congratulate you for the job you did on Mr. Lamb's. I admired it enormously. Oh, what a cunning boy you are, Will.
I'm sick of you crazy sons of bitches, Lecter. You got something to say it.
I want to help you. You'll be more comfortable if you relax with yourself. We don't invent our natures. They're issued to us along with our lungs and pancreas and everything else. Why fight it?
Fight what?
Did you really feel so depressed after you shot Mr. Garrett Jacob Hobbs to death? I didn't know you then, but I think you probably did. But it wasn't the act that got you down, was it? Didn't you really feel so bad because killing him felt so good? And why shouldn't it feel good? It must feel good to God. He does it all the time. God's terrific. He dropped a church roof on 34 of his worshippers last Wednesday night in Texas as they were groveling through a hymn to His Majesty. Don't you think that felt good?
Why does it feel good, Dr. Lecter?
It feels goodwill because God has power. And if one does what God does enough times, one will become as God is. God's a champ. He always stays ahead. He got 140 Filipinos in one plane crash last month. Remember that earthquake in Italy last spring?
So did the Lecter from the books or any of the other works that were done after this strike you as a particularly religious person, or is he just kind of talking out his ass here at giving examples?
One of my favorite quotes from the book is, "I collect church collapses recreationally," and it is because it spans over every adaptation I've seen of it, and it goes through all the books as well. He always references the church collapse on the church full of grannies, is what he calls them in the book. And I don't think it's necessarily that he is religious in any way. I think he really truly sees it as that,
the pinnacle,
that power.
And he appreciates the power, certainly, whether or not he believes in it. Yeah.
I think it's a matter of he can see why. And I think this is really shown in Anthony Hopkins' depiction of it, is how appealing that power can be.
He's also a nature versus nurture guy. I mean, we see in this clip, nature comes to us like our lungs and our pancreas. That struck me as a little odd also for somebody for him to take. I don't know why it struck me as weird for him to take that attitude.
I mean, he's also a doctor.
He's seen all, he's done all, too. He's a wise sage at this point. By the time he's incarcerated, obviously. The other thing about this clip, did you notice in the background of the shot on William Peterson, the elevator that goes up right when he talks about being godlike.
Ah, no,
that was deliberate.
It's a nice touch.
That was deliberate on Michael Mann's part. He had people operating that elevator in the hotel behind that building.
That shouldn't surprise me.
Moment.
That really shouldn't surprise me.
His attention to detail is insane. He filmed everywhere he wanted to. That's another reason he probably drove De Laurentiis into debt, because he wanted to go all across the U.S. to film at these different locations because they were intricate to FBI, like central areas.
Our locations were, I think, Pensacola, Florida.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they shot in Atlanta. This is all indoor stuff, so why would they bother going to Atlanta?
It didn't matter. He would want to be there.
Oh, wow.
That was the attention to detail he had. When they do all that lab work, when they're looking over the toilet paper note, that actually was in an FBI laboratory, these were not places that were filmed typically.
Yeah.
So he had that kind of connection.
By the way, have either of you ever tried writing on toilet paper with a ballpoint pen?
Mm-hmm.
You have? How'd it go?
I mean, it's not great.
And why?
Well, when you're younger, you just do what you got to do.
Yeah, true. That's actually younger. That's what my notes are written on.
I was kind of hoping for more of an elaborate story than that.
I actually ripped out a section and went over it with a felt tip pen too.
I mean, I tried it just to see after watching the movie. I was like, how is that possible? That's got to be hard to
It depends on the toilet paper as well.
Really?
2-ply helps.
2-ply?
See, I think the less ply would help because it's stiffer. If you get a softer toilet paper, that's going to tear more easily.
All right, yeah.
I see.
I was thinking of
parchment
Scott's.
paper. Oh.
So you're telling me they actually went to Missouri? I think it's St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, I'm pretty sure they did.
They fly into for this?
Yeah, that was the thing that there's an interview that William Peterson does on the Blu-ray talking about how that was like, he was insistent upon doing all these locations because didn't matter if we knew where the hell they were.
Right.
I mean, that supermarket could have some significance we don't know about. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. He's doing it for his own, I guess,
amusement.
I wouldn't say amusement necessarily as gratification in terms of I'm doing this correctly.
Was he that filmmaker with other films as well?
Pretty sure. I mean, if you look at Heat, he certainly got in with those people. I mean, most of his films have that crime element anyway, so he's always within that world. So I'm sure he has those types of connections.
Mm-hmm. Well, Heat was all one city. It wasn't like a globe-hopping adventure or anything like that.
And he'd also done that movie previously, too. That's the remake of his own movie from 89, his TV movie, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Forgot about the TV movie.
So he did it twice. I don't know what the difference is in locations or any of that, but yeah.
Well, one of them is 3 hours long and one of them probably wasn't.
Yeah.
It's one of those really long movies that no matter what, I will watch it all the way through, sort of like Lawrence of Arabia, even though it's horrendously long. And not that one. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Phenomenal.
I found Magnolia a bit self-indulgent.
That's
honestly.
fair, but I mean, you still have. I mean, it's good. But
that awkward song they throw in right in the middle of it.
I don't know. I loved it. It was definitely, but as far as ease in watching, because you see a 3-hour timestamp and you're like,
oh my God, yeah.
You watch it and then next thing you know, it's over and you're like, oh, I didn't feel like I spent that time watching it.
Yeah. Well, because you were invested with the characters.
Very much so.
And Magnolia is a good comparison in terms of it's almost like an ensemble that you have to invest in. Same thing with Heat.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to Heat as an action movie, you're going to get that, but at the same time, it's more drama than anything, and you have to care about every character.
Well, they do start killing them off as the movie progresses, so there's less of an ensemble to keep track of, to be fair.
Right, but you also, you have to care.
Kind of taking it easy on you
for it to have that impact on you, as a viewer, so, yeah. My first screening of it did not go well, though, however, because there was an asshole in the audience.
Oh, no.
Who was laughing hysterically during,
I don't really remember being that funny.
There are some funny moments, but...
Sort of like the comedy stylings in Manhunter.
This asshole thought anything with any kind of violent scene was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I had been waiting 2 years to see this movie whenever I heard he was first going to do it with De Niro and Pacino, and I'm in. I don't care what it is. You could read the phone book. I don't care. I'll watch it. I guess we could close it with, it's just you and me now, sport.
Sport.
I'm going to find you. God damn it.
Peterson does yell a couple of his lines that are, when he's talking to himself, it seems a little weird. But
Oh, yeah. When he's observing. Yeah.
You had the tapes, didn't you?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
That's what I love about it, because it's in those moments that he has with himself where you get that level of...
The wheels are turning.
But when he's discussing this with others, it's very, very professional, very
subdued,
on point.
Yes. He keeps to himself quite a bit.
It's very interesting.
And
it's an interesting character choice.
If I'm not mistaken, this was the movie that led Peterson to produce CSI.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, you can't help but not think of Manhunter now when you think of CSI. Back then, we didn't know what CSI. We didn't. Yeah. But there's a definite.
He was
comparison.
the executive producer on that. And
it's probably
owned
because
a huge
the investment
chunk
of Michael Mann had in that world that enthralled him.
I don't remember seeing any of this kind of stuff in a movie before this. I mean, except for the usual, stuff like The Conversation and tracing of phone calls and things like that. You didn't really get into this kind of forensic analysis stuff in another movie before this, or not that I remember, not to this level of detail at least.
No, you brought up The Conversation, and it's funny because somebody asked me recently what scares me in a movie, like a scary scene in a movie, like what makes me jump. And there's rarely anything in horror films that jump, but there's a scene.
The shower thing?
It makes me, it comes out of nowhere, scares the crap out of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a jump scare for me. And Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation.
Oh, because, there's nothing else in that movie that prepares you for it. There's nothing.
It's all low key. You're like, yeah.
I'll have to go back now and watch The Conversation again. Are you one of those? I think so, but I'll see if you think so. Is Gene Hackman's character in any Enemy of the State the same guy as the one he plays in Conversation?
I've never seen Enemy of the State.
Same mannerisms, same line of work. And I think he even says his name is Harry in that movie.
Well, his character in, why am I blanking?
Hoosiers. Who was, no, not Hoosiers.
No, not Hoosiers.
Night Moves.
Night Moves is Harry Mosby, right?
I don't remember the character's name.
I think so. Harry Mosby.
You said Night Moves?
Another classic.
It's very cool in
Conversation.
Enemy of the State is...
I don't think he uses
Edward Lyle.
Oh, that could be made up.
You said Gene Hackman's character, right?
Yeah, Gene Hackman.
And then the other movie was what?
Night Moves.
Music by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
That is Harry Mosby.
Not to be confused with the Christopher Lambert, Diane Wayne movie Night Moves, which is spelled Knight.
What is going on right now?
Or Hollywood Nights, which is a completely different movie than both of those.
But they drive me crazy, those Hollywood Nights. Me and my baby.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that's a callback to Lawrence of Arabia.
It is.
Lawrence of Arabia. He's an English guy. And he came to fight the Turkish. Yeah. Okay. Katie's officially
checked out.
I just got nothing to add.
You tapped out of this episode.
I think next time you should we should do the movie that's for the podcast, but then I need a list of all the subsequent movies that you are going to reference.
Well, I don't know that.
Watch all of those as well. Yeah, you have to.
I don't know that.
In some ways, you know what you're going to connect the dots to. Maybe not Lawrence of Arabia or Night Moves
I wasn't
and
going
Hollywood
for that.
Night.
No.
But the rest of the stuff.
It does have a little wang to it.
Right.
Sorry.
His dick is in the punch.
Yeah. Oh, God. Volare.
Was Tony Danza in that?
Yeah. He's still in it, actually.
Is he still, they didn't cut him out?
Hollywood Nights. Michelle Pfeiffer is his girlfriend in it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Floyd Mutrix.
Anyway.
Good stuff. But we wouldn't know we were going to that, Katie, so.
Why, no.
Well, but on the bees, you talked about the swarm and that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I was going to bring up Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs.
Well, yeah, and hey, I came more prepared than any of you for that because I have recently watched them all, even Hannibal Rising.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Honestly, it isn't as bad if you've read the book. And
it's not
I'm
that
going to
good
be
either.
honest, by watching that and listening to the book, because I do audiobooks, and then rewatching season 3 of Hannibal, there is so much in season 3 of Hannibal that is Hannibal Rising.
See,
the wacky costumes?
Wacky Wacky costumes.
When he hooks up with that one woman in Hannibal Rising. I'm thinking of the movie.
Oh, I thought you meant the show, and I was like, there's no weird costumes
I'm
in
just
season
kidding.
3.
That's I know. I'm just kidding.
See, now, I won't necessarily read the book to get to where I can appreciate a movie. I might watch the Viewmaster version to get an appreciation of the movie.
And
My
read
thing
the
is-
captions on the.
Some of these characters are characters that I want to spend as much time with as I can. I hate you guys.
No, that's actually the investment. Yeah. So
There
if
are
you go
certain
into it
things that
watching
I
the
will go
movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that attracts
I
me.
like Hannibal enough. And the thing that sucks about Hannibal Rising is, from what I've
Everything.
gathered, Thomas Harris was kind of forced to write the book so the film could be made.
Okay.
So I don't
How
know
would they
if it
do
was
that?
And the film wasn't even a hit. Like
Contractually.
nobody cared about it, right?
I don't know if it was to keep rights, because I know
Maybe.
sometimes
Probably
studios will
was.
put
That
things
makes
out
sense.
to keep rights. And,
When in
and
doubt,
I-
it was probably for the rights.
And it was Hannibal
Well, and I
Mania
know-
at the time, so yeah. it
Well, and
makes
I
sense.
know, like, with Hannibal moving forward, the television show, they were headed towards Silence of the Lambs territory, but there was a huge kerfuffle with the rights of that, because evidently one studio owns Silence of the Lambs, whereas Hannibal can be, you know what I mean? I don't know how to exactly put it into words, but Clarice Starling and Silence of the Lambs is still owned by the studio who did the film. I don't know who it is. I'm sorry. I should
So
have been more
Orion
prepared.
did the film, but MGM owns it now. Because
Maybe
they own the
MGM
Orion
owns
catalog.
it.
Yeah.
So they weren't sure if they were ever going to be able to directly move into that territory with the show, because MGM still had the rights to Clarice Starling and all of that.
And that's
So it's a
something
mess.
Well, a lot of people don't understand that. It's not just film rights or sequel rights. It's
Right.
character
Mhm.
rights.
Yeah.
And, well, if you're a Marvel fan, you know that much.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Especially now that Fox is owned by Disney. And then
Hey,
Sony
don't
still
get me
has
Well, you
started.
Spider-Man.
not even Marvel
Listen,
fan. If you were a James Bond fan, you knew how Spectre got tied up with McClory for how many hundreds of years.
Yeah, he was the thorn in Cubby
Or
Broccoli's
even how-
side forever.
A lot of the Doctor Who writers held on to
Mhm.
character rights for
Yeah.
all of
With,
their
like,
guys
Russell
for a
T.
long time.
Davies. I know he's a newer one, but there were certain characters that if the characters were in an episode, he had to be the lead writer
Right.
on the episode, or they couldn't be in the episode.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's
Talk
a
about
mess.
some good contractual makeups going on there. I mean, yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get that Hannibal TV series where he moves
Hannibal in the middle?
Yeah, where
No,
he moves
I
in with
need-
a
I want
wacky
more
roommate
of-
like Balky or something. And
I mean, they were kind of going into that
No,
territory
no.
with season 3.
I would pay
they go
Balky
on,
Bartakamus?
they go on some crazy adventures and
Yeah, I would pay blood to see that, actually.
Nathan, I know you
Cousin
hated
Larry.
season 3,
I
but
didn't
I
hate
really
it.
just
I just
really
didn't love
want
it at all.
more of that Hannibal.
Balky, you ruined the
From-
driftwood sculpture I made for the sergeant.
Brian Fuller.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, but
And
I
he-
just wanted to be in that world that doesn't exist. That's what was fun for me, is once
I
we
know.
start pulling characters from other books and then changing
See, but
narrative
I
structure,
really-
and yeah, it kind of loses
I
me.
really liked Richard Armitage as
Mhm.
Dollarhide.
I didn't hate it. I just was like, I don't want to go down
I
this
can-
road. Yeah. Yeah.
I can understand people having issues with that third season, but it's kind of like what I just said with Hannibal Rising. I just want more of that universe and those
Yeah.
characters, that you could have given me anything and I still would have eaten it up.
Oh, you know what?
So,
Here's your buy-in, Jason, to
Okay.
watching the series.
All right.
Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall is in it.
yes.
Okay.
And he gives it's a great role,
great.
and he's both dramatic and funny. So it
Mm.
isn't like something you would expect him to do. It's pretty
No, it
damn
would not
great.
be. No.
Yeah.
They just did a reunion stream of all of them, and he was in it, and he was extra funny in it. I love
He's
Scott
always
Thompson.
hilarious. And he has, if you get the Blu-rays for the series, he has like... I
You
think
talking about
little
the Hannibal
webisodes.
series, or-
Yeah, the Hannibal series. He does like these interviews with the cast, and they're just great. They're money in the bank.
It's definitely one of those casts where you can tell they're all friends. Like,
Yeah.
it was, yes, it's amazing.
And the CSI connection, Lawrence Fishburne did a season of CSI,
That he did.
and then he did
And
all
he's
3
Jack Crawford.
seasons of Hannibal.
As Jack Crawford.
So I remember when he did CSI, it was like he contractually went into it with, I'm only doing this one season,
Oh.
because he was primarily a film actor. So But he loved the material so much that he committed to each successive season because they didn't know they were going to do 3 seasons from the bat. They didn't know. They kept renewing it. But
and that's how I found out that him and Gina Torres are together.
Yeah, and she's amazing.
Because she's his wife in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't Lawrence Fishburne push really hard to get into The Last Dragon?
Well, he didn't push hard enough.
He wanted to be show enough, maybe?
Did he?
I think
I
so.
didn't know that. I mean, that was back when he was Larry.
Yeah.
That was in between Death Wish 2 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Enter the Dragon?
No, The Last Dragon.
Oh, sorry.
Barry Gordy's movie from 85 with the lovely Vanity, Denise Matthews.
And a bunch of giggling villains.
Yes. Enter the Dragon is shown in The Last Dragon.
It is.
Really great scene.
The internet isn't telling me anything about that.
Oh, the internet's
I don't know
useless.
that you would be a huge fan of The Last Dragon. Again, that's kind of like...
What is it? Like, what genre?
It's martial arts, but it's very much a glorified, like...
It's very much its own genre.
Cult movie, really.
Way,
it's, yeah. Barry Gordy, who started Motown Records.
That name sounds very familiar to me.
He was behind the production, and Vanity was signed with Motown at the time. She had just done 1 album. She ended up doing 2 with them, and then they pretty much buried her career.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So.
Oh, this is the guy who did Car Wash.
Yeah, Michael Schultz. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
It all comes together, people.
And
it all
we do the
comes
episodes
together.
in the right order.
You know.
Spoiler alert, maybe, maybe not.
With that, I think we'll draw this episode to a close. Go see Manhunter. Go see all of these movies.
Go see
Just not at a theater near you. Yeah.
Just not at a theater. Well, if you can manage it, I suppose that'd be a new
good
trick.
double bill.
Until next time, we've been the Smooth Thrills Radio Hour. Catch you down the road.
There is someone walking behind you. Turn around, look at me.
That's it. The show is over. Thank you for listening. The Smooth Thrills Radio Hour is a production of Ghostcraft and is recorded live in Dallas, Texas. Please email your questions and comments to autopilot at smoochthrillsradiohour.com. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Here's my heart in my head. Turn around, look at me, understand that there's someone to stand beside you.